So laws of motion can be explained on the basis of some examples. First we will see the example 1. The first example is solar system. We know that Earth is rotating around the Sun in elliptical orbits, but Moon is rotating around the Earth in circular orbits. So if this is the Sun position in elliptical orbit, Earth is rotating in the third position. Around the Earth in circular orbits, Moon is rotating. So if we see the location of Earth and Moon, this Earth and Moon are moving around the same common center. Earth and Moon are moving with same common center. And one more point we should note in this motion is Earth, the mass of Earth is simply 81 times more than the mass of Moon. So mass of Earth is equal to 81 times of mass of Moon. So the center of mass for this Earth-Moon system lies very near to the Earth, that to be inside the Earth. So the center of mass lies very nearer to the Earth. The internal forces between the Earth and Moon does not affect the motion or momentum of the center of mass. Only external forces can affect the motion and momentum of the center and force. So in this solar system, only Sun is expelling the external forces. So the external force caused by the Sun is simply overcoming the internal forces between the Earth and Moon. That's why the positions of Earth and Moon will completely changes with respect to the position of Sun. This results to the eclipse. So eclipse is also explained on the basis of laws of motion of center of mass. So from this example we can say that center of mass lies towards the higher mass portion in a system, not towards the lower mass portion. So here Earth is the higher mass portion. If you see the example of an explosion, that is like a second example. If you see any cracker, the crackers will move in parabolic path because due to the gravitational force. Because it is a projectile, under the influence of gravitational force, it should follow the projectile path, nothing but the parabolic path. So it will be in the parabolic under the influence of gravitational force. Once it overcomes the gravitational force, it explodes. This explosion is simply due to the internal forces, not due to the external force, because at certain heights the effect of the gravity is completely zero. There the internal forces inside the body plays the key role to overcome the gravitational force. So in such cases the explosion takes place due to the internal forces. Still it is divided into fragments. All such fragments are moving along the same parabolic path, because after the explosion also the path of the projectile is not changing. The reason behind it is internal forces cannot affect the momentum or motion of the center of mass. Only external forces can affect. But here the body is not in the level of external force such like gravitational force. So after the explosion, all fragments are following the path of parent object. Here the parent object is a cracker. Fragments means the cracker was divided into some 4 to 5 small fragments. We will name it 1, 2, 3, 4, which was divided into different directions or multiple directions, but following the path of the parent object. Nothing but the parabolic path. So what is the reason behind it? What is the reason for the fragments also behaving the same like a parent object? Only reason is internal forces cannot change the momentum and position of the center of mass. Only external force can cause it. The next one is vector product or cross product. So what is the definition of vector product? If the product of two vectors is also a vector, then it is called as vector product or cross product. If the product of two vectors is also a vector, then it is called vector product or cross product. What is the mathematical form for this cross product? Suppose A and B are vectors. So we can represent this one as A bar and B bar. Cross product means A bar cross B bar, that is equal to AB sine theta. So if two vectors are multiplied, so we should multiply their magnitudes along with the sign of the angle between them when they are projected mutually perpendicular to each other. So the product of magnitudes of each vector and sign of the angle between them when they are projected mutually perpendicular to each other. So if two vectors are perpendicular to each other, we should apply the sign of the angle between them. So this one can be written like this also. So mod of A into modulus of B into sine theta. To understand the concept of cross product, we should use an example called right hand screw rule. So what is this right hand screw rule? These are the screws it was placed on a horizontal surface called A. If we want to rotate this screw towards inside or outside, we should apply the force in this direction. So let us say the rotatory axis is B. The plane of the position is A. If we apply the force perpendicular to these two axes, then the object will move exactly perpendicular to each other, maybe towards inside or outside. Let us write the resultant direction is C bar. So by using these three position vectors, nothing but the position of the horizontal, angle of the rotation and resultant displacement. Then we can relate these three position vectors like this. C bar is equal to A bar cross B bar. So it is mod A into mod B sine theta is equal to C bar. The same example we can see in the right hand's rule also. Suppose this is the right hand. This thumb is showing the upward direction, which is actually results the resultant displacement. The curl of the fingers explains about the direction of the force applied. So the direction of force applied and the displacement of the body both are perpendicular to each other. They are not in a parallel plane. They are both perpendicular to each other. In this case, we should apply the cross product in the form of right hand screw or right hand's rule. So this cross product, it is defined as components method also. Components method means a vector called A bar is resoluted into three different directions and B bar also resoluted into three different directions, such like A bar is equal to Ax I cap plus Ay j cap plus Az k cap. And B bar is equal to Bx I cap plus By j cap plus Bz k cap. Now we should multiply A bar cross B bar, therefore Ax I cap plus Ay j cap plus Az k cap cross Bx I cap plus By j cap plus Bz k cap. So in the multiplication of these components, we should apply the rules of vector product. So therefore, A bar cross B bar is equal to Ax I cap plus Ay j cap plus Az k cap cross Bx I cap plus By j cap plus Bz k cap. Now I am expanding this whole multiplication. So I am Ax into Bx I cap or Ax I cap into Bx I cap plus By j cap plus Bz k cap plus, so I am keeping a bracket for this, plus Ay j cap into Bx I cap plus By j cap plus Bz k cap. It's better to keep the arrow marks because we are representing in the terms of vectors. So plus Az k cap into Bxi cap plus Byj cap plus Bz k cap. So after the expansion, if you see the first term, Ax cross Bx into I cross I plus Ax cross By into I cross J plus Ax Bz, here also we can write Ax into Bz into I cross k. So the first expansion was over. So on each unit vector, it is better to keep arrow marks, cap marks. If you see the second one, plus ay bx j cross I. Plus ay by j cross j. Plus ay bz j cross k. Plus az bx k cross I. Plus az by k cross j. Plus az bz k cross k. This is a huge form. This should be simplified by using the rules of vector product. What are the rules in the cross product of the vectors? I cross I is equal to j cross j is equal to k cross k is equal to 0. Cross product between the two parallel vectors is 0 because the angle between them is sine. But I cross j is equal to k, j cross k is equal to I, as well as k cross I is equal to j. We should apply all these rules in this Hughes equation. Therefore, this will be 0, this point will be 0, and finally this is also 0. So what we will get here? I cross j. I cross j is equal to k. So ax by k cap plus ax bz I cross k. So I cross k is equal to j. So k cross I is equal to j. I cross k is equal to minus j. Therefore it is minus j into ax bz. First one was simplified. Plus, see the second one. I cross j is equal to k, but j cross I is equal to minus k. Therefore it is minus k into ay bx plus j cross k is equal to I into ay bz. Plus k cross I is equal to j. Therefore az bx into j plus az by into, therefore it is k cross j is equal to minus I, because j cross k is equal to I, k cross j is equal to minus I. So this is the standard equation, and we are taking I, j, k are common, and we are simply justifying the terms. It is like this. I am taking I as common. So I, if I take I as common, it is ay bz minus az by. So we can write I into ay bz minus az by. I am taking minus j as common. Ax bz minus az bx. I am taking k as common. Ax by minus ay bx. This is the simplified form, but what we can understand from this simplified form is it is simply nothing but determinant of unit vectors along with their magnitudes of the vectors, that is I, j, k ax, ay, az, comma bx, by, bz. So if I take I as common, I am closing the column of I and row of I. Then it is ay bz minus az by. And I am using the alternating symbol minus j. I am closing the row which is presented the j and which has the column j. So then it is ax bz minus az bx. Then I am closing the k. Then it is ax by minus ay bx. So this is the determinant form of cross product of two vectors. So like this we can define the cross product of two vectors. Next we will see the properties of cross product. The next concept is properties of vector product, nothing but the cross product. The first property is cross product doesn't obey the commutative law. What is the actual commutative law? A cross B is equal to B cross A. But it doesn't obey, that's why we should write not equal to. What is the reason? Actually in cross product, the position of the vectors is very, very important. Once the position of vector is changes in multiplication, then it alters the sign of the resultant. Therefore, we can write this one as A cross B is equal to minus of B cross A. Change in the position of vector alters the change in the magnitude. Change in the position of a vector alters the sign of the magnitude. The second one, but this cross product obeys the distributive law. That means A bar cross B bar cross C bar is equal to A bar cross B bar plus A bar cross C bar. Distribution. In case of multiplication also A bar cross B plus C is equal to A bar B plus A bar C. So such like we can assume the cross product obeys the distributive law. Third one, if two vectors are collinear, then its resultant vector is null vector. If two vectors are collinear, their resultant magnitude is a null vector. What is the reason? Collinear means they should be 0 degrees or 180 degrees association. So if theta is equal to 0 degrees or 180 degrees, therefore A cross B is equal to 0. The one more rule is the cross product of a vector with itself gives null vector. The cross product of a vector with itself gives a null vector. That means A bar cross A bar, that is equal to B bar cross B bar, that is equal to C bar cross C bar is equal to 0. In form of null vector, we can written as O cap null vector. Fifth one. Fifth rule is, if two vectors are mutually perpendicular to each other, then its resultant magnitude is maximum. Mutually perpendicular to each other, then its resultant magnitude is maximum. That means if A is perpendicular to B, therefore A cross B bar is equal to AB sine 90 degrees, where sine 90 is 1, that's why it is AB. This is one of the important point in the cross product rules. And the last one, as we know that I cross I, J cross J and K cross K is equal to 0, but I cross J is equal to K, J cross K is equal to I, K cross I is equal to J. If these are reversed, then it alters the sign, like J cross I is equal to minus K, K cross J is equal to minus I, and I cross K is equal to minus J. So these all are the rules about the properties of vector product. So we will see the few examples about the cross product of the vectors. The first example is torque. It is also called as moment of force. So the definition of the torque is, it is the product of applied force to the perpendicular displacement. This perpendicular displacement in terms of vector also called as position vector. Position vector. So if you see this Q to R, which is along the P, and O to P. O to P is the direction of position vector R bar. Q to R is the direction of force. Vector of force. So from the triangle ONP, this one ONP, sin theta is equal to ON by OP. Therefore ON is equal to OP sin theta. but we can write that OP is equal to R bar. Therefore, ON is equal to R bar sine theta. But torque is equal to not only position vector into force we should write. So force into position vector. Therefore, torque is equal to force is F bar, position vector is ON, so ON is equal to R sine theta. So FR sine theta we can write it as F cross R is equal to tau. This is one of the example of cross product. The next example of the scalar cross product or vector product is linear velocity of a rotating body. Linear velocity of a rotating body is defined as the cross product of angular velocity with position vector. Product of angular velocity with position vector. Here it is not a mathematical product, it is a cross product. It is a cross product of angular velocity. So what is the meaning of cross product? Linear velocity is V. Cross product of angular velocity and position vector means omega bar cross R bar. So let us take a body which is rotating about a rotatory axis ON. So where ON is rotatory axis. P is one of the point of the rotating body. From the point P towards the M, this M is a point on the rotatory axis. I have drawn a position vector. This PM is the radius of the particle which is on the rotatory axis to the particle or point on the rotatory axis. So therefore, PM is distance between point of rotation to rotatory axis. So from the triangle OPM, where OP is R bar, sin theta is equal to MP by OP. Therefore, MP is equal to OP sin theta. Therefore, O to P is R bar. Therefore, it is R bar sin theta. This is equal to MP. But linear velocity is equal to omega bar cross MB. Plus MP. Therefore, it is omega bar cross R bar sin theta. We can write it as omega bar cross R bar. In simple words, we can write it as V is equal to omega R sin theta, which represents the magnitude. So this is the way to explain an example of cross product in the case of rotating body. So next concept is comparison of law of conservation of momentum with center of mass. law of conservation of mass, law of conservation of momentum with center of mass. When two bodies which are at the opposite directions of masses m1 and m2 may be equal or may not be equal, while they are traveling to face each other with velocities u1 and u2, after the collision takes place, they will separate with the velocities v1 and v2 when there is no change in the mass. This we know in the conservation of momentum. So, if these two bodies are stick together after the collision, their center of masses are also coincides with each other. If these two bodies are stick together, the bodies will move with common velocity as well as their center of masses also coincides. If the body is not moving with the common velocity, after the sticking, the body was fixed at constant position, then m1 u1 is plus m2 u2 is equal to 0. So, center of masses are also coincides with each other, means if we applied the Newton's third law of motion, F12 is equal to minus F21. So, m1 a1 is equal to minus m2 a2. So, this equation results m1 u1 is equal to m2 u2. This equation already m1 a1 is equal to minus m2 a2. So, here it is also minus. So, from this m1 by m2 is equal to u2 by u1. From here m1 by m2 is equal to a2 by a1, where minus indicates the opposite in direction. So, opposite in direction. So, if we compare the left hand side of these two equations, then we can write a2 by a1 is equal to u2 by u1. So, the equivalence of conservation of momentum and center of mass is nothing but the directly proportional relation of acceleration with velocity. Therefore, from this we can write acceleration is directly proportional to u in case of such collisions. So, this is one of the numerical which is based on the concept of vector product and scalar products. So, the content is find the scalar and vector products of two vectors, say a bar is equal to 3i cap plus 4j cap minus 5k cap, and b bar is equal to minus 2i cap plus j cap minus 3k cap. So, first we should find out scalar product. So, scalar product is nothing but a bar dot b bar. So, it is nothing but ab cos theta. So, where a bar is 3i plus 4j minus 5k dot minus 2i plus j minus 3k. So, 3 into minus 2 minus 6, 4 into 1 plus 4 minus 5 into minus 3 plus 15. So minus 6 plus 4 minus 2, 15 minus 2, 13. 13 units. Here the rules are I dot I is equal to j dot j is equal to k dot k is equal to 1. Means the product of two parallel vectors is maximum. So the second bit is vector product. Vector product is nothing but A bar cross B bar. Therefore, I, J, K, the magnitude of A bar is 3, 4, comma minus 5. The magnitudes of B bar is minus 2, 1, comma minus 3. So, I into, so I am closing the column of I and row of I. 4 into minus 3 plus 1 into minus 5 minus 1 into minus 5 minus j into, so I am closing the column of j and row of j. 3 into minus 3 minus of minus 2 into minus 5 plus k into, I am closing the k and so I am closing the column of k and row of k. So that's why 3 into 1 minus of minus 2 into 4. So if you do the same calculation, I into 4 into minus 3 minus 12 minus into minus 5. This was first step. Next minus j into 3 into minus 3 minus 9 minus of minus 2 into minus 5 10 plus k into 3 minus of minus 8. So therefore it is minus 12 plus 5 minus 7i minus 9 minus 10 minus 19 into minus j. So plus 19j. So plus k into 3 minus of minus 8 plus 8, 3 plus 8, 11. If you order it, 7i minus 19j minus 11k. So there is a difference between the dot product as well as cross product. The next point to be discussed in this lesson is concept of torque and couple. Previously, while we were discussing about the work power energy, we have discussed about the torque also, because torque is also a similar quantity with respect to the work. But in this lesson, we are going to relate this torque to the other physical quantities which are associated with the rotational dynamics, nothing but the rotational motion. So torque is defined as moment of force or couple of force the one more word to be used to explain the torque is turning effect of an object or turning effect of a force. This means we are applying a small amount of force or large amount of force on a body to turn it with respect to its rotatory axis. So the force what we are applying automatically gives the perpendicular displacement in the object. So the force applied into its perpendicular displacement is called torque. The symbol of torque is tau. It is pronounced to be tau. So in case of vector concepts, this is also written as tau is equal to Rf sin theta. So in vector products, it is written as r cross f or f cross r. These are vectors, that's why we should represent with arrow marks. So the SI unit of torque is, the formula of torque is F cross R. The SI unit of force is Newton. The SI unit of displacement is meter. That's why the SI unit of torque is Newton meter. When two physical quantities are involved to explain a unit of any other physical quantity, they should be separated by a hyphen. So this is the SI unit of torque. But the dimensional formula is same as work. Because in work we are using the applied force and displacement along the same direction. But in case of torque, force applied and direction of displacement both are perpendicular to each other. So therefore, torque F cross R, the dimensional formula of F is ml t power minus 2 into the dimensional formula of the displacement is L, therefore it is ml square t power minus 2. When the same amount of forces is applied on any ends of the rod like this, let us take a rod of uniform dimensions. Two forces are acting downwards with same magnitude but opposite ends of the rod. Automatically, a perpendicular displacement will be developed exactly in the middle of the rod like this. If two forces which are equal in magnitude but opposite in phases are acting downwards or upwards on either ends of a body, it gives the translatory motion of the body or nothing but the bending of the body. But if the forces are designed like this, one is upward and another one is downward, then the body will move rotationally, means it will execute the rotational motion with respect to its center of mass. So here we should understand the principle of moments. One momentum is based on the rotational dynamics, another momentum is based on the translational dynamics. This is the one of the numerical based on the concept of torque. The content of the numerical is like this. Find the torque of a force 7I cap plus 3J cap minus 5K cap about the origin. The force acts on a particle whose position vector is I cap minus j cap plus k cap. So before going to solve the particular problem, we should represent the vectors. R bar, nothing but the position vector, is I cap minus j cap plus k cap according to the given data. And the force applied, F bar, is 7I cap plus 3j cap minus 5k cap. In vector form, torque is defined as R bar cross F bar. So in vector form, we can write tau is equal to R bar cross F bar. So to find out the cross product, we should use the determinant method. So therefore, tau bar is equal to Ijk in the first row. In the second row, we should write the magnitudes of the R bar. Nothing but 1 I cap minus 1 j cap plus 1 k cap. That's why the magnitudes are 1, minus 1, plus 1. In the next row, we should write the magnitudes of or the resolution components of force vector. That is nothing but 7, 3 and minus 5. So now we should see the cross product by determinant method. So I cap, so I am leaving the column which is present in I and the column which is present with I. So it is nothing but minus 1 into minus 5 minus 3 into 1. Next, we should use the alternative symbols j cap into. So we should close the column which has related with the j, and we should close the row which is related with the j. So then the I and k will be left. So 1 into minus 5 minus 7 into 1 plus k cap into, so we should close the kth column and kth row. So I and j will be left 1 into 3 minus of 7 into minus 1. So therefore it is I cap into minus 1 into minus 5 plus 5 minus 3 minus j cap into 1 into minus 5 is minus 5 minus 7 plus k cap into 1 into 3 is 3 minus 7 into minus 1 plus 7. So the answer is 2I cap minus into minus plus 12j cap plus 10k cap. This is the torque applied on the body with respect to the origin in vector form. You can simplify this answer, but the simplified version is parallel to this vector. So tau simplified is, so we can take 2 as common, so I plus 6j plus 5k. But this one is simplified form as usually parallel to the resultant vector also. The next concept is equilibrium of a rigid body. If we take a rigid body in the universe, it has two types of motions, translatory motion and rotatory motion. First one is translatory, second one is rotatory motions. Translatory motion is due to the applied external force. Rotatory motion is also due to the applied external force, but that force should be balanced with the centripetal force acting on the body. Whenever a body is executing the centripetal force, it executes the torque also, because automatically the perpendicular displacement takes place in the rotational dynamics. So here we should discuss about the mechanical equilibrium of a body. Mechanical equilibrium of a rigid body means it is not the subconcept of the equilibrium. The equilibrium which is possible to the rigid body is mechanical equilibrium. So how it can be defined? Let us take a uniform dimensional body, a rod, which is a finite shape, a measurable dimensions and measurable width. Suppose if I fixed any one supporter in the middle, then we can expect that center of mass and center of gravity coincides with each other, then the body will be balanced. There will be no tilting or no upward or downward vibrations. If suppose this supporter moves to left side of the body or right side of the body, then you can observe the body like this. Suppose if I move this body towards the left side, then what will happen? The mass will be concentrated in the left side only. So that's why the body will shift, will completely down to the left side. So the right side will go up. If it is shifted to the right side, then the total mass of the body is said to be concentrated on the right side, then the body will down towards the right side and up towards the left side. That means this is not the balancing condition, this is said to be balancing. So whenever a body is under the balance means its sum of the linear momentum is conserved, and at the same time angular momentum is also conserved. So linear momentums are in balance and angular momentums are also in balance. So in case of linear momentum or angular momentum, linear momentum is due to the applied external force. Angular momentum is due to the force balanced by the centripetal force. This concept leads to torques. So the sum of the all linear forces or external forces is 0 and sum of the all torques is equal to 0, then the body is said to be in mechanical equilibrium. So in the state of mechanical equilibrium, the linear momentums and angular momentums of the body are conserved and there will be no change. So we can write like this: sum of all forces, that is equal to F1 plus F2 and so on, Fn is equal to 0. Therefore, sigma Fi, where I is equal to 1 to n, is equal to 0. This is the condition for the linear momentums are to be conserved. The second one, tau 1 plus tau 2 and so on, tau n is equal to 0. That means summation over Ti, tau I, where I is equal to 1 to n is equal to 0. This is the condition for the angular momentum. So for translational equilibrium, this is the rod. It has ends A and B. Two equal amount of forces are acting on same direction but on the opposite faces of the rod. Let us say the middle point of the rod is C. The couple of momentums here, the linear momentum. This momentum, we can say that AC is equal to CB. These are two equal forces which are acting in the same direction. As usually mentioned, the deformation will take place in the body with respect to the position C. Here, forces are balanced. Which type of forces? Mechanical force which are applied externally. So, if F1 is equal to F2, which results to the perpendicular displacement, then the body is said to be in translational equilibrium. Here we should not calculate the torque because the body is not under the rotation. But if you want to calculate the experience of torque on the body, so the body's diagram will change like this. Same amount of force but in opposite faces and opposite in directions also. F and F. A, middle point is C, end point is B. Then at C, the body experiences the rotational equilibrium. Rotational equilibrium. So what we can understand is, if you imagine a perpendicular line which is passing through the sea, then that axis or then that line which is perpendicular and passes through the sea acts as a rotatory axis. So at C we can imagine the rotatory axis also, or axis of rotation. It is also called axis of rotation. Then we can say the body is under the rotational equilibrium. Simply we can say that the torque that is experienced by the body on two ends are balanced. So torques are balanced. So we can write tau 1 is equal to tau 2, but summation over f is not equal to 0. If tau 1 is equal to tau 2, sum of all taus are 0. That is nothing but tau I is equal to 0. Here we are not calculating the tau I, but we can write tau I is not equal to 0. Such like this, we can imagine the translatory and rotational equilibriums of a body. In the both cases, the body is experiencing a couple of force. Couple means minimum 2. So what is the definition of couple? So what is the definition of couple? In case of these type of translatory and rotatory equilibriums, couple is defined as like this. So two equal and unlike forces which are acting at different points of a rigid body is called a couple. Two equal and unlike forces which are acting at different points or different positions of a rigid body is called a couple. So this couple produces translation with rotation, or sometimes translation without rotation, or sometimes rotation without translation. So it produces only translational or only rotational or sometimes both. This is the way so we can understand about the equilibrium of a rigid body. Whenever this equilibrium is not possible, it leads to the difference in the momentums. This concept is called principle of moments. From this principle of moments, we can find out the mechanical advantage also. So next concept we should discuss is principle of moments. So what is this concept? Take a body, two equal or opposite forces F1 and F2 are applied on either ends of this body. Suppose initially what I have mentioned is if an ideal lever is exactly placed in the middle of this body, then these two forces are balanced, then the body will be in equilibrium condition. But let us assume the body is not in equilibrium condition. For that purpose, we should keep the ideal lever close to any one end, maybe towards the left end or right end. Because of this ideal lever, it results some net reaction force up in the upward direction. Let us say it was the R. The force on the one end is F1, the force on the another end is F2. So in translatory equilibrium or in translational equilibrium, the net force is reaction minus F1 minus F2 is equal to 0, because net force is always 0 for an equilibrium system. So the force of reaction is defined as R minus F1 minus F2 is equal to 0. So R is equal to F1 plus F2. So the net reaction force due to this fulcrum or lever is equal to sum of the forces which are acting on either ends of the body. In this case, this body experiences translational equilibrium. But in case of rotational equilibrium, let us find out the distance of this lever from each end. Let us say this lever is at a distance of d1 from the force F1 side, and it is at a distance of d2 from the second side. So the work done to move the body is nothing but the force into displacement, or the work done to move or to experience the torque is force into perpendicular displacement. So based on this concept, we can say that F1 d1 minus F2 d2 is equal to 0, because torque, the sum of torque is 0 in case of rotational equilibrium. Summation over tau I is equal to 0. So from this one we can write F1 d1 is equal to F2 d2. So F1 by F2 is equal to d2 by d1. This is the equation for mechanical advantage. Which gives the result that how much force a body can withstand without disturbing the equilibrium position. That is said to be mechanical advantage. Here, two types of forces we are observing. One is F1 and one is F2. If F1 is moving towards the right side of the circumference, F2 will move towards the left side, which are actually placed to opposite faces. But what is the significance of this F1 and F2?